Imagine that you are the person who was carrying that large window pane that now lies in shattered shards around your feet. You look at the pieces in dismay because you realize that you can no longer put these pieces back to their former smooth, translucent self. But suddenly, a smile lightens your face. You smile because you see forms of mosaic art that these pieces of glass can form. You see that because now you're looking at the spaces between the pieces of glass. I'm Dr. Frank Douglas, the CEO and founder of Safe Haven Dialogues. I'm also the host of the Reframing for Resilience podcast. In this podcast, we discuss with guests experiences that they've had in which they have used different perspectives to solve problems. And we hope that as you hear these experiences, you will get to flex your resilience muscle. Welcome. It's good to see you again, Nicole. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I'm looking forward to our conversation. As we get started, tell me a little bit about your journey. I know you were at Disney at one time, and I
Yes.
remember, as a matter of fact, paying a visit to Epcot Center with my team, and we actually visited the Innovation Group, and it was
Oh.
just incredible. So tell us a bit about your journey.
So I started with the Disney store in 2005. I was a store manager for them, and I was there for about almost 5 years. The Disney store was then sold to the Children's Place, and we had 1 year to transfer to keep our seniority and stuff. So I took the chance and moved to Florida. I left my home in Maryland, sold my house, uprooted my husband, and we came down here in 2005 to Florida, and I worked in the parks. I was an hourly cast member for the first 10 months I was here. So that was definitely a big change for me because I had been salaried since I was about 16 years old, different jobs that I had. So I gave myself a year and I said, okay, if we can't make it in a year, then I'll just go back and tell everybody it didn't work out. Right. So I was fortunate enough to, within 10 months, be promoted to a guest service manager. I worked at Magic Kingdom. That's where I had first started my hourly role in strollers, which is the front of the park, and then moved to the Emporium for about a month and a half, and then went back to strollers as a leader. And then got promoted and went to Disney's Animal Kingdom and was at Disney's Animal Kingdom as a retail guest service manager and restaurant manager for about 7.5 years. That's where I met Joe Whitlock, and he's going to come back into my story. He's kind of like interweaved. So I wanted to mention his name first. I met him at Disney's Animal Kingdom. He was an intern there. Once I left Animal Kingdom after 7 years, I went to the World of Disney store. That's in downtown Disney, or Disney Springs right now in Orlando. I was fortunate again to work with Joe Whitlock. We had known each other. We kind of knew each other's strengths, weaknesses. What could we work on? He's very creative. I like to be creative. So it was a really good sense of friendship. That's where I think we really blossomed into our friendship and with our careers. Working under a lot of different leadership at Disney. So when you work under leadership, obviously there's good leadership and there's bad leadership, right? So as a new budding leader, I wanted to make sure that I was not necessarily studying, but learning from both the good and the bad. Okay. So after 3 years of being in the Disney store, downtown World of Disney, I went to the spas. I heard that there was an opening for Disney spas and salons. There's 7 locations across property. and they were looking for a guest service manager that was seasoned with the Disney culture. So again, Joe was there before me. So we had spent the next 5 years building the brand, building character contour, building profit. We also promoted one of our coordinators at that time, Dan Panos. He is now at Mpire as our director of finance. And then, 2020 happened, right? COVID happened. I was laid off after 20 years of being with Disney. And it was very hard, and I know it was hard for a lot of people because a lot of people lost their jobs due to COVID, right? But for me personally, I thought I was set at Disney. I was going to retire, I was going to continue to make magic and love every minute that I was there and continue my leadership journey. But, there were other plans for me that at that time I didn't see. So I applied for 201 jobs. And this whole time we're keeping in touch. Joe's keeping in touch with me. Dan's keeping in touch with me. Our other leader that was with us at the spa is Alicia. She was in touch with me. And I remember I was on a text message and I was like, guys, I'm so defeated. It's 201 jobs. What am I going to do? I don't know anything else. At the time, I thought I didn't know anything else. Let me rephrase that. I thought I didn't know anything else. Other than Disney and what that looks like. And Joe texts me on the side and he's like, hey, my brother is opening up a mortgage brokerage. Do you want to come over? I think that your talent and your skills will help us grow the business. And I was like, well, all right, sure, I'll come over. So I met with John and, he learned a lot about me at that time. I knew a little bit about John just from like the family interactions of different birthday parties and things, go to Joe's kids' birthdays and stuff. And started my mortgage journey. I was a commission-only employee as a loan officer assistant. So basically I was just helping, make sure that credit reports were there, pre-approval stuff like that. Had no clue what I was doing, right? I had 20 years in leadership at Disney. I mean, I had a mortgage, I paid it, but that was as much as I knew about mortgages. And so I had to, rethink and be like, okay, we're going to go all in and we're going to learn this, right? So it was in May that I started there. In October, I was promoted to director of operations, right? So we were just starting out. I was number 5, the 5th employee. I'm proud to say that we now have close to 200 employees spread across 27 different states and counting. So I was, we're trying to build different things. You got payroll systems, you have HR systems, you have compliance pieces, especially in the mortgage business. And you have all this other like learnings that you're trying to do all at once. But, we believed in the business and I believed in the business and I believed in Joe and John. And we went ahead and now we're creating this, this company, this startup company that was, just a little vision in 2021. So very excited to be doing that now. Like I said, Disney, was great to me. They always have. I don't want anybody to think that Disney wasn't. I met a lot of incredible people there. But it really did help me, although I didn't realize it at the time, to help forge the path in this new career that I actually, am able to be a part of and create. So that's where I'm at right now with that. So I wear a bunch of different hats, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, what a wonderful story. As you know, we begin the podcast using the metaphor of breaking glass, the pieces of breaking glass. And there you had 201 job applications, if you like, 201 pieces of glass. And suddenly you saw something different was presented to you, very different from what you were doing at Disney.
Correct.
Okay. And it fits so well with this image we have facing problems and then
Mhm.
being forced to look at it differently and find a different type of solution. So tell me, now
Mhm.
that you have gone from the wonderful world of Disney to within 3 years,
Yeah.
building a company from start, five of you to now over 200
Mhm.
employees.
Mhm.
What are the things that you learned at Disney
That
that
brought it to
helped
me.
you? Yes.
So I learned a lot about how to work with people, right? Because 99.9% of the job that I did with Disney was working with people, either my cast members or my guests. Um, Also, to leadership and different leadership styles, understanding that, people make mistakes, right? And you learn from them. You don't get kicked down and then just don't get up again. You figure out, what did you do wrong? How can you do it better? And that was one of my things that I learned at Disney through my leaders, right? And I had a lot of really just great people that were willing to take me in underneath their wing, when I started at the parks, and really had faith in me that I necessarily may not have had in myself at the time. And looking back on my time at Disney, I see that it helps me prepare to be, you know, to understand that I'm not always going to get it right, you know, to not be afraid to give myself grace, not to be afraid to go ahead and make those phone calls when I have to ask for help. I think that's the big thing that people in leadership and upper management, C suite, all of that may or may not remember. But don't forget that you have people around you that you can go to. There are resources. Um, it also too opened my eyes on what I could do, what I really was doing as a leader at Disney. Um, you know, it just was such a legacy that I hope I left a positive legacy when I left Disney. And I think I did. But it really helped me grow into who I am right now and what I'm doing with Empire Financial.
So tell me, you get this call.
Hmm.
All along, you're looking for jobs that you
Hmm.
could see would translate what you had learned at Disney, the
Hmm.
leadership that you
Hmm.
were practicing in the different aspects that you grew within the Disney world. And
Hmm.
now you get this call of
Hmm.
this behemoth Disney,
Yes.
okay, the land of magic, to start to a startup, an entrepreneurial activity with three, four people, the two of whom you trusted, uh,
Right.
a big change. Can you tell
Yes.
us a little bit of what that was like? What went through your mind? How did you make the switch from what you were looking for to embrace
Hmm.
this new opportunity?
I think the biggest thing was my trust in Joe and John. That
Mhm.
was huge for me. To know that Joe thought that highly of me and my leadership skills, that he saw beyond what I was going to start out to now what I am doing in the position that I'm in, um, put a lot of faith in me and a lot of trust in me. And I think that that was one of the biggest things that I had to learn. I remember before I went into my interview with John, I sat in my car for 5 minutes and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work, but you know what? We're just going to do it. You you're just going to go ahead and do it. We're going to go in, we're going to see if it's a fit for me, see if it's a fit for them. And hopefully my leadership skills and my relationship with Joe will help me get to, translate that through to his brothers, for his brother to take a chance on me and bring me over into the brokerage world.
So,
Yeah.
so a key element here was trust. Your
Trust, yeah.
trust in them, and
Hmm.
you're recognizing that Joe trusted you, that
Hmm.
he actually was trusted you so much that
Hmm.
he could take that leap of faith, if you like, and say to his brother, I have confidence in her,
Hmm.
trust that she'll be able to do this. So
Hmm.
your trust in them
Hmm.
and their trust in you.
Yes.
So an important part of doing something that is different,
Hmm.
finding a different solution, what I'm hearing from you is trust.
Yes. And I think, you know, and like you said, it's trust in myself and my ability. It's trust in Joe, who's been a friend of mine for many years, almost 15 years now. The trust that John had in Joe when Joe said, "Hey, listen, I know some people that have some really incredible skills that can help us build this business." And then to think of me, you know, Joe pretty much had I want to say both of us worked our last place that we both worked together. You know, there were four leaders there. How come he decided to choose me first? You know, um, and that was very it was very humbling. Um, but I'm very, very proud of the fact that he thought highly of me enough to say, "Hey, listen, you know, we're going all in. You want to come along for the ride?" And I did, you know.
So there's an additional aspect to the trust,
Mhm.
namely he selected you ahead of other colleagues with whom he
Mhm.
had worked to
Mhm.
go on this very important and, as a matter of fact, somewhat of an unknown journey.
Yes. Hmm. Yes,
The other
very
thing
much
you
so.
said, sorry, go ahead.
I said very much so, you know, and then once we were together, we looked at our sphere and our relationships that we had out there. And that's when we decided to bring Dan on in October as our director of finance. He handled our payroll system at Disney during the spas and
Mhm.
salons. And you know, he knows how to add. I always tease, I always tease Dan. I'm like, I'm not the money, I'm not the math, I'm not the math. That's this guy over here. And we brought him on, and he's, you know, he's helped build and shape the team as well as the business. I mean, and you can't ask for anything better than people having trust in you to bring you on.
Mhm. The other thing you said as you sat in your car,
Yes.
finally decided what I like to think of as a Nike moment. Just do it.
Yeah.
You decided in your car we're going
Hmm.
to do it. So
Hmm.
another part of a transformation of
Hmm.
moving forward into something new that is unknown,
Hmm.
trust, and the decision not to
Hmm.
be halfway about it, but to do it, a
Right.
commitment. So there was trust and you committed.
Yes, correct. And I can tell you, you know, my family was like, "What are you doing?" You know? And I'm like, "Listen, you know, this is something that I want to do. It seems like it's going to be great. I'm going to help build a business, which I've always wanted to do, and be more than just, you know, your regular run-of-the-mill middle management, you know?" So it aligned with my goals there. I can tell you that 14 months later, Disney did call all of us and offered our jobs back.
Mhm.
Uh, and that in that moment, when they're on the phone with you, you think, okay, 20 years, I get my pension back, my health care is covered, you know, my 401k, all of that stuff. The additional money that they were going to pay us. I'm sorry, my Alexa's going on. So, you know, to continue to think, oh my gosh, am I really going to say no to this behemoth company that I spent 20 years with, that I actually absolutely loved? And it was another moment where I stopped and I said, you know what? I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. I took a leap of faith. They took a chance on me. I'm going to go ahead and um, decline coming back to Disney. And I remember having that conversation. And when I was done getting off the phone, I walked into John's office and I looked at him and and he said, "Are you going back to Disney?" I said, "No, I'm not going back to Disney." And I said, "But I'm going to tell you one thing." I said, "We are going to make this work," because I just gave up, all this stuff because I have faith in what we're doing here at Empire Financial. And he looked at me and he's like, "Thank you," you know? And it's been the best 3 years that we've had so far, and especially my career and my growth. My family, I was getting a lot of, once I told them that I got the call back, and I got a lot of heat for saying, "I can't believe you're going to give that away. You don't know what's going to happen with the market, blah, 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 blah." And I said, "It's me and it's my decision. And I feel in my heart, and I know in my heart that it's the right one." And, here we are today. I never thought I would be on a podcast talking about, my rebuilding, my rebranding, my resilience at all, if you would have said that to me 5 years ago. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk and hopefully inspire somebody else too.
So tell me, from this episode in your life,
Hmm.
this is really life-changing in
Hmm.
every way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
What are three things you would say that contributed to your resilience, that you could make that tough decision, given all that you had to do with your family's expectations,
Hmm.
your own expectations, 2, 3 years ago, or a year, actually, it was a year,
Yeah.
a year ago, your own life expectations. And now you're faced with this decision,
Hmm.
and you've made a decision, and you were very committed to your present path. What contributed to your being able to make that decision?
I think the biggest thing was that after being with Disney for 20 years, thinking that it was the end of the road for me, what am I going to do now? I think looking inside and saying to yourself and really looking at what you've done in the past and say, "You know what? I got through X, Y, and Z. I can get through this." I think part of it is being brave, um, to take on something new, to be bold enough to just do it, you know, and honest with yourself. Honesty with, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix it? And, like I always said, I told you, I think in our first time we spoke, I always said that faith, trust, and pixie dust, right? So faith in myself, uh, trust in myself, and trust in others. And there's always a little bit of magic that comes along with that. Keeping a positive outlook is huge. I think that was one of the things that was hard at the beginning, was to stay positive that I was going to be able to get through this, that I didn't feel like I was abandoned by Disney. Um, and that was like the biggest thing for me, was just being brave enough to take that step. And sometimes that's hard. Um, but for me, like I said, I trusted Joe. I trusted his faith in me. And I'm now, working in a career that I absolutely love. I have either positive or negative effects on that business. So it's a little bit different for me as far as the stress level, but I love every moment that I'm in it. We have created such great things. We created our first, well, actually, our charity. We have Project Embrace. I am the proud president of that organizations. It was a bunch of loan officers that came and said, "Hey, listen, we want to give back to our community. What can we do?" And again, learning from Disney and how they handled all of their charity work in the framework for what they did, we were able to use that best practice and begin our own charity that we have. So I'm very proud of that. I'm also proud that we are doing Mortgage Con. So Mortgage Con is an idea that John had, where he didn't want it. conventions or conferences to be the same old dry, right? Mortgage is very transactional. There's no like, I don't want to say fun, but there's no fun in mortgage, right? So he wanted to take that to somewhere where it's not seen as, oh, I got to go to this, it's stuffy, I got to dress up, I have to listen to these people talk to me, for hours on end, where Mortgage Con is something that is little nuggets and like 20-25 minute segments of different people around our industry in mortgage, around the industry in social media, around the industry in tech. And then, of course, you have your motivational speakers, and then you have your mindful speakers as well. So, MortgageCon was a huge hit. We did it last year for the very first time. We hosted at Universal Studios here in Orlando. We're on a back sound stage, which is really cool. Of course, there's a theme because you have to remember you have three people who used to work for Disney and love to throw events. So we do that. We do it over a 3-day trip, and we're getting ready to do it again in February and have already signed the paperwork for 2026. So very, very exciting to be part of that. And that's just, you never know where it's going to lead,
So
you never
you,
know
so
where you're
you,
going to go.
yeah. So you have taken a lot of the
Mhm.
magic that you enjoyed at Disney, and
Yeah.
you and your colleagues, you and John and Joe, have asked
Mhm.
yourselves, how can you use some of that magic to change the way we do things like mortgage conventions,
Mhm.
for example. So is that part of what drives you?
Yes, it is. It's very much a part of me. I loved when I was at Disney because I got to see different people. I got to meet people, all over the place. It was fantastic. Got to do these big events, and to bring some of that, I don't want to say just magic, but it's some of that, it's not, mortgage isn't a bad thing. It's like I said, it's transactional, right? And you move on to the next deal. But John wanted to make it more than that. He wanted to add a guest service piece in there, um, to where, your clients keep coming back to you, or, people tell people about you, and the next thing you have other deals coming in. Um, and your branding out there is because you're different, because you care and you want to give back to your community, and people see all of that, right? But what I think is important to know is that it comes from a place in all of our hearts that work at Empire, that, we not only believe in this, but we believe in our community. We believe in our strength, um, of our business, of our leadership, of our operations, of our loan officers, of course, that are out there every day. And I think that that is what makes Empire different from anyone else, I guess I want to say. And now we have to worry, I don't want to say worry, but now we have to put on the board, okay, what does it look like what does our guest service, what does our family, community culture, company culture look like when we scale to 500 or 800 or 1,000 or 3,000? And that's something that, we're working forward, with, and have some really great ideas, and
So can you
hope.
share with us, and my last question to you, can you
Yeah.
share with us some of the ideas about what your culture will look like when you get to 500 plus?
So
Some
I
of the
think
things that you've
that,
learned so far that you're thinking should be part of that culture.
right, right. So the biggest thing that I think needs to be part of our culture is just making sure that we are maintaining those relationships, and more than just a business relationship, personal level to an extent, I guess you could say, um, with the people that help carry out our other teams in the States. So for me, as we grow to, 500, whatever we end up growing to, putting the people that currently align with our vision in the right places to help us spread that culture, spread that sense of community all over, right? Because we're based here in Orlando. Um, we also do I'm sorry, semi-annual. We do it twice a year. Uh, we bring in all of our um, oh my gosh, I just lost all of our sales managers. Sorry about that. We
No
bring
trouble.
in all of our sales managers in for a retreat. They get to, really meet us. We also work with a very big lender up in Michigan, UWM, where we go there. And we host trainings. We just had one in October. Over 100 of our LOs were able to join. And, part of the operations team went up there. I had the opportunity to go up with a few of our new people that are looking at Disney, not Disney, I'm sorry, a few of our new folks that might want to come in and join Empire
Hmm.
and get to learn and show them our culture. And that's huge, I think. That's huge. You don't want anybody to feel like they're a number. And that's a little bit of a challenge, but, you know, we'll get it worked out. There's a
Good.
lot of different things coming up. John has a lot of ideas as far as like technology. What can we do? How can we leverage tech? How can we leverage AI? How can we, um, what are some of the different things that we have? It's not going to just stop with Empire. I think that it's going to grow into other aspects of life. Um, and I'm just excited to be a part of it. It's fun.
Fantastic. Well, it's been wonderful talking with you, and I can hear and I can feel your excitement and
Mhm.
hearing you think about it's about people believing in
Yeah.
yourself, believing in people, believing in your community and
Mhm.
relationship with people and all the other things that you bring to it, the technologies, etc. At the end of the day, the
Right.
culture is the relationship with people and bringing
Mhm.
value to them. Thank you for
Yes.
spending this time with us and giving us a sense of resilience, a
Hmm.
sense of changing perspectives, and a sense of how do you reframe when faced with a real life challenge.
Hmm.
Nicole, it's been a pleasant talking with you again.
Thank you so much.